Hello, and welcome to another episode of The End of the Search. This one I call it Conditioning is to be undone, not replaced. What do I mean by that? What we're remembering here is that what we are is that which words cannot describe. You can call it essence, unicity, oneness, not two, love. It doesn't really matter because the name is not important. It's the fact that we are. And that is all we're pointing to here. Now, when we believe that we are a separate entity, because the thought that says I am has not been investigated, meaning the thought that says I am a separate individual is what I mean, has not been investigated. Well, there's a conditioning that is developed that we identified with. Not only I am a person, I am male, I am female, I am from whatever country, this is my religion. And on top of that, I have high self-esteem, low self-esteem, I am good, bad, successful, unsuccessful. And these are labels, but these are just thoughts. When really seen, they're just thought. They mean absolutely nothing. However, believing those thoughts has consequences. Okay? So, the conditioning, it doesn't matter how we got it, whether we decided to, I don't know, we made our own distinctions or our own meanings or whatever, we came up with them because we observed and we imitated, or somebody handed it to us, it doesn't matter. What happens is that conditioning sustains through practice. You see? First I tell you that you are little Johnny or little Jane, I don't know, okay? And then you reinforced, or it is reinforced through everybody telling you who you are, and you also reinforce it by when someone asks you who are you, you tell them I am Johnny or I am Jane. You see? That is reinforcement. And then any experience you may have, all of a sudden the mind, a thought shows up, and according to the culture, how you were raised, you interpret it in a particular way, and before you even know it, you begin to develop a sense of identity, a character, and all of that continue to be reinforced because you keep repeating that to yourself. Well, when we believe we're a separate entity, the tendency is that when we're feeling uncomfortable or bad or whatever, what we're trying to do with that conditioning is we're trying to change it to a different one. That's why we talk about negative thoughts. We want to change them to positive thoughts. Negative beliefs, they want to be changed to positive beliefs, you see. But that does not eradicate the cost, which is the condition that says I am a separate entity. So we're not here trying to make you a better separate entity. We're here to remind that we are not a separate entity. So the way conditioning is undone, not replaced, is through observation. That's it. There's nothing to do. I don't need to engage the mind to fix something that is not broken. I just need to observe it for what it is and don't give it any meaning, just seeing it as it is, and then the conditioning begin to subside on its own because the essence that we are begins to all of a sudden become more prevalent. You see, right now, no matter what may be going through in your life experience, notice how conditioning is immediately in action, is activated, and you are giving meaning to everything that seems to be happening to you, not realizing that all those meanings are just thoughts. So we're not trying to change the meaning of anything, we're just simply relaxing back into presence. You see? Right now, if you don't believe any thoughts, if you don't believe the content of the mind, you're relaxing in presence. You see? Relaxing right there. Just presence. Presence awareness. You see? That's where you relax. That's it. This is your natural state. It's not a state because it's not a temporary thing, but I don't know what word to use. This is beingness. And in beingness, the conditioning is no distraction. You still function the same way you did before, but without the heavy weight of all these beliefs, or the belief that I'm this separate entity and I am whatever concepts I have believed about myself. All that withers away. That weight immediately drops and you are. See? And that's how the conditioning, as it is seen, it's seen through because it's recognized that it's just thoughts, dissipates. And you remain as you are. See? And we're not trying to replace one conditioning with another one. We're just simply seeing, observing, because as we are conscious of the fact that we are, also we notice that life is what lives us. It's not that we are the one who live life. Therefore, I don't need to be concerned how to behave, what to do, what not to do. That is happening anyway. And that's why these videos are paradoxical. Because I may be suggesting to rest in beingness, but you're not resting in beingness because I am suggesting it. If you find yourself resting in beingness, it's because life through you, through the instrument you, is now resting in beingness. That's why this idea of free will goes out the window. And of course the mind immediately goes, so if I'm destined to suffer, there's nothing I can do about it. And what I always offer, which is the best answer I ever heard, which came from Ramesh Balsekar, he says, act as if you had the freedom of choice, while simultaneously you know that you don't. So if the question arises, if I'm destined to suffer, there's nothing I can do about it, remember that life, which is living you, is leading you to this kind of information. But my experience, it showed that these are questions that no need to be concerned about. I just continue acting as if I really can rest in beingness, and as the thoughts and the conditioning is seen through, there's a lightness, a lightheartedness, and a lot of those thoughts that before they used to be so important begin to lose their strength. You see? So what I mean is that if life is leading you to this information, I would dare to say that life is already liberating through you. So you don't need to be concerned about those questions. The people who are not ready for this kind of information, who are still identified with their ego, you will notice that they will not be interested in this kind of information. As simple as that. And yet you are. Wonderful, congratulations. That implies that life through that instrument called you is beginning to remember who or what it is, which is that which words cannot describe. Reminds me of a message I got from a friend of mine that I send them, some audios by Ramana Maharshi. So I was sending this information, and then he said, Nick, I got a friend of mine who's very identified with his ego. He's suffering a lot. He had a breakup, whatever. Could you talk to him? And I said to him, I could talk to him, but if he's not ready for this, it's going to be a waste of time. So what I said to my friend was that, and then he sent me another message. Nick, yeah, I see, I keep sending him these audios that you're sending me, and he's very attached to his identity and everything. And I said to him, when he's ready, if he's supposed to be ready for this, he will find himself drawn to this information. So you don't have to send anything to them. You don't have to force this information onto anyone. So let's not get caught in the details or something like that. Let's just notice right now how simple this is. First things first, what do you really want? Do you want peace of mind? Real peace? Not the peace of mind that we think we get as a result of, if you have a lot of money, you'll have peace of mind. No, you will not have peace of mind. You're just going to have a lot of money, and then the fear sneaking from but I'm afraid that somebody will take that away, you see. So, no, peace of mind is the freedom in which you rest when the recognition of what you are is established. And that recognition does not require any effort of your part, doesn't require any analysis on your part, doesn't require any judgment on your part or understanding. It's simply resting in the fact that I am. When you don't identify with the concepts, when you don't identify with the thoughts, if you don't believe them, you are resting in the I am, and that's what it says that I am. And in that I am, do you require any kind of understanding? Do you need to understand the fact that you are? Literally, come on. Do you really need to understand experiencing? See, you get the mind out of the way and you rest in what you are. And this is what these videos are pointing to. This is it. This is all that is going to be reminded and shared in every single video. That you simply are. If you don't believe the content of the mind, if you don't believe your thoughts, you simply are. And this are-ness or isness, where's the conditioning? There's no conditioning. Yeah, you still act as if you play the role, but you don't believe the role anymore. See the difference? If you're a father, you will act as a father, and if your children call you father, you will not say, no, I am the great I am. No, you simply, sure, hi son or daughter, it doesn't matter. Let them call you what they want, but you know who you are. You see? And then when you find yourself acting in a particular way or reacting or whatever, then there's a part of you now, because the seed has been planted, that knows that I am, and you don't blame yourself for the reaction. You don't punish yourself for that. You just recognize, okay, this is part of the conditioning that seems to be happening, but I am. And as you keep remembering that I am, and you rest more in that I am by not believing the content of the mind, don't be surprised if you see that some of that conditioning, which is reactive, begins to wither away. This has been my experience. I'm not saying that I am enlightened. I'm not saying that I have awakened. I'm not saying that I am perfect. No, I don't know. As long as this body seems to be in this seeming human experience, well, I don't know what will express through this instrument. But the only thing I can share from my experience is that the way I used to react in the past, so to speak, the past is a thought, but we have to use this language for this within this context. The way I used to react in the past compared to the way I see myself responding now, there is a difference. And the only thing that I have done, which is paradoxically is nothing, you see, is just recognizing that beingness is all there is, and that's what's the most important thing for me. And as that becomes the most important thing, which it already has, not because I have chosen it, it's because that is how life expressed through this instrument, I can experience the consequence of that. I don't find myself attached to things that before I used to attach myself to. I don't find myself reacting the way I used to react. And if I find myself, for example, feeling a sensation that the mind before used to try to hang on to it or make anything out of it, now I'm noticing how there's a recognition, like a thermostat that sees the reaction, but immediately can go back to presence and be with the sense, with the feeling, without giving them any meaning, you see. But again, this is part of what seems to be happening through me, because that is how life is expressing through this instrument. And in the same way that life expresses through this instrument, not reacting in those particular ways, well, there's a natural and organic tendency of sharing this good news, if you want to call it that way, for those who are ready, or I should say, sharing the good news out in the open, and those who are ready for this will find themselves naturally being drawn to this information. The same way that I didn't choose to become a spiritual seeker back then, and yet I could not stop it. And I was in the middle of my career as a stand-up comedian. And yes, I had doors that they were opening up, and I don't know why. When I look at the videos in YouTube, I see how sometimes come up with residue of those days when I used to do stand-up and I did some television stuff and everything. But that doesn't hold me anymore. I can see the nostalgic of that, but then I see it as just that, and then it passes on, and that's it. You see, there's not a tendency to pursue that. That is not the way life wanted me to go, and yet I did all of that. I have done music. I got 4 records, and I'm gonna put the 5th one now, which is all in English from some of the songs in Spanish that I translated. Go to my website, themusicoflove.com, so you can listen to the ones that I have translated already. But that is just what happens. And right now, what life has experiencing through this instrument is making this video. And if it so happened that you happen to be watching it, that is life through you, inviting you to listen to this information. And if it serves you, I'm clear that I don't take any kind of ownership or authorship of anything that I'm saying. You see? I'm not your teacher. I'm not your guru. I'm just simply yourself that seems to take the form of a different body through which the information comes through, but the information is not coming through me, it's coming through you to you, because you and I are the same. We are, you see? So I don't take any credit for any of this, even though in the world of appearances you could say that I am the one saying these words. Now, again, let's go back to the simplicity of what this is all about. Right now, in spite of whatever conditioning you have, right now, if you're willing to not believe the content of the mind, if you're willing to simply rest, if you're willing to simply be, if you're willing to not believe what the thoughts are telling you, you will have the direct experience, or you are having the direct experience of just simply beingness, in spite of whatever thoughts are coming through. That beingness is all that you need to, that's all that is needed. That's it. Just rest in that. And then whatever conditioning that no longer served this true desire for truth will have to wither away, Everyone that I have seen that somehow points to direct experiencing, to the fact that I am, always tells me the same thing: don't believe the content of the mind. But remember this, and I will always reiterate this in every video: it's not you, the person, who's not believing the content of the mind. The person is not there. The person itself is a fabrication itself. So again, this is not about you. You see, even though on a surface it appears that way, it's just about recognizing the fact that I am. Right now, as always, let's put it to the test. If you don't believe the content of the mind, if you don't believe any thoughts, what remains? If you answer me, you went back to the mind. That's why this is not an exercise for you to do. This is not me talking to you, but again, within the context which we appear to be, these are the words that have to be used. So right now, don't believe anything the mind is suggesting. Just don't believe any thoughts. That's it. I'm just pointing to that. Don't try to analyze them. Don't try to understand it. Don't try to do an investigation conceptually right now. I'm just pointing to what is. Right now, don't believe any thoughts. Just don't believe any thoughts. Let them be there. They will be there, and they may be there for the rest of your life. It doesn't matter. But the charge is no longer there because you're not believing them. Before, when you believe them, these thoughts seems to be charged. Now, if you don't believe them, they're just passing clouds. Right now. Don't believe the content of the mind. Don't believe any thoughts. I always say you don't have to close your eyes for this, because I don't want to turn this into something special. I'm just this is life as it unfolds. You can close your eyes if it helps you, that's fine, but don't make it as it's important to have your eyes closed, because this is not about that. Right now, as you're listening to me, or as you're looking at me, if you're watching this in a video, right now, don't believe any thoughts. Just don't believe them. Let them be there. They will be there. It's not that you let them, they just happen. You're not even in control of them. Just a way of expressing. Right now. In spite of whatever may be happening in your life, it doesn't matter, because the thoughts interpreting whatever that might be happening is what creates the issue, the problem here. Don't believe any thoughts about anything. Just don't believe any thoughts right now. Just don't believe them, that's all. You see? What remains is that. This is where this is pointing to. And now you're noticing how there's a tendency out of habit to identify with the thoughts. Not a problem. Let's go back again. Just don't identify with the thoughts. You see, this is it. This is all we have to remember. Now the question is, do you really want that experience of beingness, or you still want to identify with things that you feel that they're important in your life? See, that's beyond my control now. I'm inviting you to notice that there's a space that is, which is not a space, it's more like space-like, but I don't know what words to use because there's no words for that, in which you can rest while all the turmoil or the thoughts and all the stuff seems to be happening. There's a space, the sacred space that you can rest in, and that is what you are. That's where this is pointing to, and it's available to you always. Always. You see? All you need to remember is don't believe anything the mind is suggesting, and if you don't believe the content of the mind, guess what? You are. This is it. You see how simple it is? May not seem easy because of the conditioning, but there's no big deal. Conditioning is not to be replaced. You're not trying to change conditioning from one to another one. You're simply observing how conditioning is undone on its own, very organically, by the power of the fact that you are. You see? Don't believe any thoughts about who you think you are or anything, but the world is nothing, just be. Do you see? Well, when you want that more than anything else, all your problems are solved, because you always know where you can go to. But as long as you still want some of the things the world may have to offer, well, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just part of your journey. But now that the seed of knowing, the seed of recognition, of knowledge, or whatever, that seed is being planted right now. So now you know that even if you still identify with the sense of self or identity, whatever you want to call it, with the me you think you are, and there's still things in the world you seem to pursue, there's a part of you that now is beginning to germinate this recognition, this understanding. And many of those things that you thought they were so important, you'll see how they will be debilitating on their own, very, very, very gradually. Just relax. They will debilitate. Trust me. I've seen this happening over and over again. You know, it's like the analogy of a man. I heard this many years ago, but I don't know who said it. But anyway, I share it with you. Of a man who his desire is to have a Ferrari. He wants to have a Ferrari. That's his dream. And yet, at the same time, he begins to become conscious of who he is, because he's been reading books and he's been dealing with the suffering and all this stuff. But the desire for the Ferrari is still there. So the man does not ignore that desire. No, you don't do that, because suppressing that is not going to help. You keep doing the work, the inner work, and at the same time, he started saving enough money, and eventually he was able to buy the Ferrari. But the thing is that during the time that he was saving all that money, the deepening of this recognition of the fact that I am became so clear that when he had the money to buy the Ferrari and he goes to the dealership, he had he realized that he doesn't need the Ferrari anymore, because before he wanted the Ferrari because he thought that the Ferrari was going to give him more a sense of value. He was going to bring his self-esteem up. He's going to get the women and all this stuff that he wanted, you know, because he wanted attention. He was lacking of love. But when he finally recognized the fact that he is, then at that point, two things could happen. One could be that, okay, I don't need the Ferrari. The Ferrari does not define me. But the truth is, I enjoy Ferraris. Okay, well, in that case, he can go ahead and buy the Ferrari and enjoy it, but he's not attached to it, you see. If somebody steals them the next day, he goes, okay, well, I guess it's not mine anymore, you see. The attitude is that I know that I am, and this world of appearances has nothing of value to offer me. It just so happens that if I happen to have the money to buy the Ferrari and I can buy it, well, I can enjoy it, and if life wants me to enjoy it for the rest of my life, that's fine. Or because he feels happy with himself, because he knows who he is. He does not be defined by anything. He may say, you know what? I have $100,000 for the Ferrari, but I don't need it anymore because I'm happy. I'm at peace. So maybe he says, well, I like to buy a new car anyway because I would like to have a nice car. And he can go ahead and, you know, say, spend $30,000 or $50,000 in one car that he likes, that is nice, you know, that is workable for his life, whatever. And then the rest of the money, he can save it, he can invest it, he can travel, whatever. But you see, but now the issue is not the Ferrari thing or whatever. It's just that he finds himself enjoying life, but he knows who he is. You see? So the same thing here with the conditioning. Once you know who you are, then see how life unfolds for you. If you happen to enjoy certain things and you happen to have the means to be able to enjoy them, you can enjoy them, but they're no distraction anymore. And usually, when this recognition of the I am is established, many of the things that you enjoyed, mostly because you thought that they define you, like the desire for that kind of drops away, because the desire for being in this space, it's something that words cannot describe. You just rest in it, and then the simplest things tend to be the most important ones. So we're not suggesting that you have to sacrifice anything here. Not at all. You don't sacrifice anything, because if you feel you sacrifice something, you still identify with this ego thought system with the conditioning. When you rest in what you are, and you can feel and experience the fragrance of that, believe me that everything that somehow no longer supports that is gonna drop, and you're not gonna feel that you're sacrificing anything. You begin to downsize. I don't know, because this downsizing it represents getting rid of all the junk that is no longer necessary. You see? There's not a desire to hold on to anything. There's enjoyment of life as it unfolds, but you don't want to hang on to anything anymore. And the conditioning, which is something you've been hanging on to because of habit, not even that. You don't even want to hang on to the conditioning anymore. And because you don't want to hang on to the conditioning, then the conditioning drops away, and you're not trying to hang on to a better conditioning. You just want to let go of all conditioning so you can rest in peace, you see. And when you want that more than anything else, you see that this is very simple. Life is very simple. We made it very complicated, but now you can see through all the complication, and you rest in the I am that I am. Well, this is the inspiration that came through this instrument, or through me, whatever you want to say, it doesn't matter. I hope it served, and as always, May peace permeate the mind so that love can be extended.